Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 530 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Janelle's off tonight. The Billings Police Department releasing its annual crime report this afternoon. It's something many people are concerned about, but what do new numbers show about the way crime is trending in Billings? We've got a better idea now. Chief St. John holding a news conference this afternoon to talk about those new numbers. Q2's Samantha Sullivan was there and joins us now with some of the takeaways from the 2018 report. Sammy?
Thanks, Russ. Well, we've been going over those numbers since the report was released earlier this afternoon. And one of the most significant numbers to note, calls for service were down in 2018. In 2018, officers responded to over 93,000 calls for service. That's down from over 94,000 the year before. Police Chief Rich St. John says while at face value that's a positive, it's also indicative of a department that faced staffing issues for much of the year.
At any given time, we were operating with less numbers than we're supposed to. We had to pull officers to handle the calls for service. That the proactivity went down, and when the proactivity goes down, then you start seeing some of the correlated crimes go up.
Despite a decrease in calls, the number of violent crimes reported was up, but much of that was due to a change in Montana code that classified partner-family assault, including strangulation, as aggravated assault for the first time this year. Without those numbers, violent crimes actually plateaued. Meanwhile, property crimes were down this year. That's something Chief St. John credits to proactive police work. The Street Crimes Unit, which was created at the beginning of 2018, was tasked with being proactive in the community, disrupting crimes as opposed to reacting once the crime was already committed. St. John says he hopes for more of that in the future.
2018 clearly showed that when we were fully staffed, and we were briefly a few times, and we are able to field units that are designated to get after specific crimes, that they make a huge difference.
Another issue facing our community is traffic accidents, which were up this year. The number of traffic fatalities jumped from 6 in 2017 to 13 in 2018. And the number of DUI-related incidents increased in the city as well. It's an issue that's faced the Billings community for years, and Chief St. John says it's unacceptable.
The community needs to apply pressure to those who continue to drink and drive. There's no excuse for that in today's day and age.
Now, for more of the specifics from the report, you can find this story on our website, ktvq.com. And as it goes with staffing, St. John says they are looking to swear in 5 new officers tomorrow. Russ?
All right, thank you, Sammy. Well, Uber is a popular way for people to get where they're going, an application on your phone that hooks you up with a ride to your destination. It's relatively safe in the eyes of its users, but this weekend an Uber pickup went wrong, led to the murder of a college student. Q2's Zoe Zandora has some important safety advice when using Uber and other services like it. Zoe?
Yeah, Russ, a University of South Carolina senior was seen early Friday morning after a night out with friends. Police say she got into the wrong car when she called for Uber. Hunters found the body of 21-year-old Samantha Jofison that day more than 65 miles away in a remote wooded area. Early Saturday morning, police pulled over 24-year-old Nathaniel Rowland after spotting him driving the same model car. Samantha got in the same area. After a brief foot chase, he was arrested inside the vehicle. Officers say they found lots of evidence: window cleaner, bleach, and the victim's cell phone. Now, not only is this just a horrible incident, but it's a scary one because many of us use this application. Uber and safety experts say all drivers are required to complete a screening before becoming a driver. On every ride, there is a button for safety tools, including an emergency assistance button, allowing you to call 911, giving your location and trip details to the emergency dispatcher. Share My Trip, something you can set up with your trusted contacts, allowing you to share your trip with them in real time. Experts say to wait inside for your Uber ride, and when it does get there, to sit in the back seat. Also, tell a friend where you're going and who you're with. Map your own route and do not share any personal information with your driver. And according to UberEstimate.com, Uber runs in 677 different places around the world, And we have checked in with Billings Police, and they say there have not been any incidents in our area. But, you know, it just goes to show you have to be careful when using applications like that.
These days you can't be too safe with anything. Okay, thank you, Zoe. Well, the first ever Montana Homeless Conference is happening this week in Helena, and those attending include government officials, healthcare workers, and tribal representatives. More than 150 people attended the conference. They hope to connect service providers across the state to discuss homelessness in the state. Some of the topics included getting people who are homeless into housing, community-based planning initiatives, and educating homeless children. Organizers say the event's a good way to bridge best practices and show that homelessness has many faces here in Montana. It's estimated that nearly 1,400 people in Montana are homeless. Over in North Dakota, 4 people were found dead at a property management building in Mandan this morning, and it's now being investigated as a homicide. 3 men and 1 woman were found inside that building shortly after 7:30 after employees failed to show up for a meeting. There's still no word on the cause of death or the identities of the people inside. Despite being a homicide investigation, police say the investigation does not believe that there's any danger to the public at this time. Officers are actively searching for a suspect, but say they have no information on who that suspect could be right now. A proposal to expand state funding of preschool programs has missed an important deadline in the Montana legislature. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian takes a closer look at what could come next for the preschool issue.
The future of public funding for preschool in Montana is now uncertain after a major proposal to increase the state's contribution failed in a House committee last week. House Bill 755, sponsored by Republican Representative Eric Moore of Miles City, would have provided $11 million for public, private, and Head Start preschool programs. It would also have created a cabinet-level director of early childhood. On Wednesday, immediately after the bill had its first hearing, 7 Republicans and 2 Democrats on the House Education Committee voted it down. HB 755 was far different from Governor Steve Bullock's original plan to fund preschool, but he supported it as a path to make preschool funding permanent.
Representative Moore's bill was a good faith effort to try to say, how do we do this in the best way for our state, but most importantly for the kids that will be entering into our school system when they turn 5 years old. So it is really unfortunate that that bill was tabled in the House Education Committee.
HB 755 had drawn opposition from public education advocates like the Montana School Boards Association and the Montana Federation of Public Employees.
And I think the legislature has noted that this is the public education community opposed to this very bad idea. And I believe that has made all the difference right now in where we are.
The groups criticized the inclusion of funding for private providers. MFP President Eric Fever said their stance had been mischaracterized as opposition to preschool.
We favor pre-K education, we just are not in favor of privatizing it.
HB 755 failed to pass the House by a Monday deadline, so it is likely dead. But some form of preschool funding could still be amended into the budget before the end of the legislative session. In 2017, a late negotiation led to the creation of the STARS preschool pilot program, which provided some state funding for preschool. Bullock said he hopes lawmakers will look at the results of that program,
where they've seen what a difference it makes. So certainly hopeful that we don't take steps back from where we were last time.
In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
The failure of HB 755 means uncertainty for current preschool programs receiving support from the STARS pilot program. Local school leaders have said without state funding, they'll have to greatly reduce or eliminate preschool offerings. Well, the Montana legislature is down to the final month before adjourning by May 1st, and plenty of heavy lifting remains, including the main budget bill. But legislators also must take care of other big business and big issues, including the future of Medicaid expansion in Montana, Hannah's Act to allow the Department of Justice to assist with missing and murdered indigenous women, and a bill to allow Northwestern Energy to buy a part of the Colstrip power plant. Also several infrastructure bills. Coming up on tonight's 5:30 News, we've got all the details on how you can track storms and still stay safe this summer. We'll join Bob next. And in sports, Laurel coach Pat Hansen is stepping down from both the boys and girls basketball programs. Scott will tell us why.
And coming up in weather, we're going to be giving away some of this stuff. Tell you all about how to get this thing. It's an incredible deal. It's all coming up in a few more minutes.
You're You're watching MTN News with Janelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.